But let me tell you, I do need to get going. But like this is the game that I was like, should I like change how I hold controllers? Should I put one finger on the button and one finger on the trigger?
There you go.
And like I tried it on one of like the challenge levels.
I see.
And then I was like, this is too much for me to learn, like, and also do precision platforming while dodging like enemies, like a very light baby's first bullet hell. Yep. But I'm like, okay, if I mess up a jump, I'm just going to die. So I'm like, let's not try to learn anew.
Well, one thing's for sure, you certainly can't do that grip with the Joy-Cons.
No
way you're fitting two fingers on that. When you said button, okay, I thought you were talking about like the face bumper buttons on the top.
Yeah, right button, right trigger.
Okay.
Oh, I thought you were talking clawing it with the face
first,
buttons.
I thought you were going like fighting game style.
Abilities.
No, like the two
I was just grossly, just like
There's certain moments in Pikmin where it's like I'm like, let me just reach my index finger over and move the camera and rotate it while I'm like holding down another button with my thumb.
It seems wild to say, but I'm like, I can't just hold the controller with my pinky and ring finger. That doesn't give me nearly enough leverage to press the minus button. Like, whatever. Shut up.
Yeah, it's weird. It just depends on the game. Depends on the game.
Oh, big time.
It really does.
Hey everybody, welcome to Pursuing Pixels. My name's Kevin Portelli, and I'm here tonight with John Hines.
Hey there.
And Randall Nolery.
Hey folks.
And we are back as always to talk about some video games on a new night. We're usually recording on Thursday nights for like the last 4 years. Episodes, I guess, are still coming out on the same days. But nonetheless, I'm like, hey, this actually ended up working out better for me. I think I said this last week, but I was like, I have my early days on Friday mornings at work. I got to get there at 7 a.m. So I was like, I'm not going to say anything. But with our time zone differences and stuff, we start recording at 10 p.m. on my end. Usually don't get done till like midnight or 1.
Yeah.
Especially if we don't have too much going on. So I was like, man, I'm getting up at like 5 the next day. So for me, this, I don't know about you guys, but the Wednesday ends up working out a little bit better on my end. So, kind of a happy little coincidence there.
Yeah, let the weekend start bleeding in even earlier. It's good stuff.
Yeah. Exactly. But yeah, why don't we kick it over to Randall here for what you've been playing, dipping back into some horror action.
Yeah, I'm still I'm back in the Resident Evil 4. Last we spoke regarding Resident Evil 4, I beat Resident Evil 4, the remake that came out. Still playing that on the Xbox Series X. And I think I even had speculated that I hope they release this DLC. Capcom's always on top of the DLC, yada yada. And yep, here's Capcom. That clock is always right. Here they are with the DLC, Separate Ways, which again, this existed before, just like the original Resident Evil 4 did. It came out on PS2 originally. It wasn't part of the GameCube original, but it was on that PS2. They added that extra content to incentivize people to purchase, that version. Then the Wii version had it, and then all versions from that point on, I think, if they could have DLC at least, could get Separate Ways. But the really cool part about Separate Ways is it's not Leon Kennedy, the main character of RE4 anymore. It's Ada Wong, who shows up at points during cutscenes in Resident Evil 4 and is kind of mysterious and is there seemingly to she gets Leon out of some binds, but you're not sure if you can trust her and what's her motives, all that sort of stuff. So, you get kind of that from Leon's, dummy musclehead perspective. And then in Separate Ways, you get to play as Ada Wong, who somehow fights, in high heels and stuff in a very, this is a Japanese developed game. So this should, this is very much of that, we're on a roller coaster ride. It's very pro wrestling in its themes and feel, I would say, as far as the overtopness of it all. It's
like
very
Bayonetta-ish vibes.
Yeah,
like the way you're describing
like,
a little Bayonetta flavor.
In how much it doesn't take itself seriously, I would say yes. I would say the action is
style
not
over substance.
Yeah, like to some degree, yes. Especially in regards to the narrative of it all, I would say it very much is that. Yes.
Okay.
But what's also cool is that Ada Wong doesn't control exactly the same way as Leon Kennedy. Ada Wong has a grapple gun, which is awesome. So you'll see, occasionally as you're going through, and a lot of it's the same areas that Leon went through in the main campaign, but from kind of a different perspective and slightly different routes, but, familiar enough, but with different things happening. But like this grapple gun allows you to traverse some of those environments in different ways, where you can like look up and you'll see, there's the RB icon for the button that's like the grapple gun, but you can only do it within a certain like meter range, basically, of the thing that you could grapple to. But boy, has that come in handy, where there's just like Resident Evil 4 has always had these hordes of enemies that'll just surround you and just beat the crap out of you so quickly, and you're doing a lot of running in that game, and the grapple gun just gives you that extra, like, throw that up there onto some bar that might be overhead and just start grapple into another area, or just get a little bit of distance away, and then maybe then you're turning around and throwing your grenade or whatever else, and boy, that feels good. Of course, I'm always a sucker for any like hook shot or grapple or gun or anything like that in any game, for that matter.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about grappling hooks or whatever, but they're
so good.
Pretty dang satisfying. Not to say that they work every time, but
yeah,
there's countless games. They even, not to go on a tangent or anything, but they announced that Grapple Dog game. They just announced a sequel to that. I think it's called like Cosmic Canines or something. I don't know if it's a sequel or DLC or whatever, but either way, I'm like, I'll play more of that, more grappling hook action. I'll take it.
Yes. When it's done well like that, and it's a main mechanic, like you can just do so much with that.
Yeah, and like, kind of back to Resident Evil, like you're saying, like, but you mentioned like you're running around all the time with Leon, but like that game does move kind of slow, so I feel like that grappling hook definitely just adds a whole nother layer to that game.
It does, although at least in the remake, it was a little less slow in the main campaign because you didn't have to stop and shoot.
That's right. That's right.
You can move and shoot. It's still generally a little bit more slow paced, and a lot of times the villagers are kind of coming up on you with their axe, and sometimes they might throw them, but they're kind of walking until they get within certain range, and then they might start sprinting at you. So so it's still a little bit slower that way, but faster because you can move and shoot, which is, what a concept.
Yeah.
But the grapple gun is amazing. The different perspectives, like I said, in those cutscenes where you see now from Ada's perspective, Leon's in trouble. Like, that knucklehead's getting the shit beat out of him over here in the house. Like, let's go up here before the boss kills him and break the window so that the big boss is, looks the other way and Leon gets a chance to escape. But you're, involved from that other perspective, which is super cool. It just kind of creates this cohesive experience of Resident Evil 4 from those different perspectives, right? And there's different weapons. There's new enemies that you didn't face in Resident Evil 4, despite that being like practically like a 20-hour experience.
Yeah.
So
how long is this? Have you played all the way through it or still playing it?
Yeah, so this is something that I only barely dabbled in back in the day. I didn't really give it much of a shot. It's kind of difficult, I'll say. It still kind of is, but because I just played the remake so recently, it's that I think that's helped my cause a lot. So I think I'm only like, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours in. I'm only at the start of chapter 3. And typically those take a little bit of time, but it's just a fun roller coaster ride of a game so far, and I'm just so happy to be back in it. I love this game.
I'm so pumped for you. Like, I know like how hyped you were on the remake, so like I like that this is like I'm kind of surprised that you hadn't like played like it through, because I knew how much you liked the original game. So I'm glad that you're enjoying it in this form.
Me too. I'm also pumped, and I don't remember if in the Wii instance, in that version of the game, I can't remember if Separate Ways was even available at first, or if that was like an unlock or something. Maybe that's why I didn't get at it before. But I'm kind of almost glad that I didn't, because this is essentially brand new content for me.
Yeah.
Of a game that I absolutely love. Probably a game that would be someplace in my top 50 at least games of all time. I think RE4 is a general concept. So.
And is this is an independent DLC, even in this new iteration, or was it included in the purchase of Resident Evil 4?
No, it's a $10 purchase separately.
Okay.
But it was a complete no-brainer. Once I saw it was available, boom, immediately, I'm going to have this. Yeah. And I don't know how long that'll be. If it's short, that's fine too. Don't overstay your welcome. I'm perfectly happy with that. Just give me more of this.
Yeah,
hopefully they make more.
Yeah, I'm never opposed to that. Yeah, although I guess at this point, up to Resident Evil 5, there's not much. I guess they could still remake them and maybe make them a little bit better. I never played 5, but 6, I know they even kind of tried to reprise that Ada Wong extra campaign. Me and Steve played through. They had a bunch of independent campaigns in that game, and they tried to after you beat the game, you could then play, if I recall correctly, as Ada Wong and kind of see the game through her lens, but that game just obviously did not come together like Resident Evil 4 terrible. Did. So yeah,
Six is terrible.
I will say I can't say I didn't have fun romping through it and just kind of laughing our way through the nonsense of the game, but yeah, to call it a good video game is beyond a stretch. So
6 is the roller coaster, but the roller coaster is very unsafe and breaks down.
You're stuck upside down for an hour. The maintenance has to come.
Yeah, if that's the first Resident Evil game, you're thinking what? This is the series everybody loves?
Right.
Okay, I guess. You know.
And even 5, I don't see them remaking that as easily these days. But if they honestly, I was thinking about this before, if they just took RE4 and did the Call of Duty Modern Warfare thing and just decided that was a franchise in and of itself, and you just kept going with the RE4 of it all and just made a sequel to that game, I think that would have a huge market. So, there might be an opportunity to do something like that with the engine that they created for this remake. I would be very happy about something like that. Yeah,
Capcom's definitely clearly willing to put money, resources, and love into this franchise. So it's definitely cool to see.
Especially after RE7 was such a hit.
Yeah.
To go and be all right, we're going to actually not just do a cash grab, but we're going to put time and effort and actually rebuild these beloved versions.
That's very true.
And do them justice in a whole new way.
Yeah. 7 and Village seemed like they were very successful games. I've played neither one of them. I played a little bit of the demo of 7, I think. But give me more RE4, and I think a lot of people feel the same way. So there's a market.
Just knowing it's that high on your list, it's definitely something that once I get one of the next gen consoles, whether it's Xbox or PS5 or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm okay, I probably need to at least give this game a chance, especially if I end up getting it on sale digitally or something. It's okay, I gotta play through this game in the remake form.
It's so good. The level design is so good too. God, I just love it. It's so good.
Heck yeah. Well, I'm sure we'll get an update at least when you polish off the DLC at the very least. So.
Yes, that's the focus now for sure.
But nice. But why don't we kick it over to John here for a little mystery game? We got a little tease in the Discord for something narrative themed, I guess, but that's all I really know.
I was being a little coy about how I didn't have, internet I've been staying at my in-laws' place for a bit, so I was I'm not going to set up whatever Wi-Fi password on my Switch. I'm just going to play whatever I have, use it as an excuse to be all right, I've got so many games that are just on this system that I've never touched. This is
digital dust,
This is a great way to force myself to play games I just did with Heaven Will Be Mine, games that I know I will love, that I've been meaning to play for this is why we do our resolution games, because there are so many games that we know we will love, but just for whatever reason haven't forced ourselves to play. And this one was, as soon as I was scrolling through, all right, I don't have, these are all games that I need a cartridge for. This was the first one I was oh yeah, absolutely, I'm playing this. So I booted up Neon White,
Oh, that's literally the top thing sitting in my cart on my Amazon right now, a physical copy. I was like, I've been waiting really want to get this game, but it's like $40. It's only $25 digitally. I'm like, what do I do?
Let me give you the hardest sell, Kevin.
Yes, please do.
Holy shit.
Because I know there's someone behind. I forget who the developer is, but I know the previous game they made is one that I either really love or know
Ben
has high acclaim. I forget.
Donut County.
Yes,
that's the game.
Like this.
Yes.
So before we started recording, I was like, okay, I actually don't like. I don't remember a lot of the things about like the development of this game, other than it's voice acted with a lot of like voice actors that I really like from different things. So
I didn't know that.
There's a voice actor from OKKO. There's Stephen Bloom, who is Spike Spiegel of Cowboy Bebop, like one of the most famous voice actors like in anime. And then Sungwon Cho, who is also a huge, like, I'm a huge fan of his work. But I just looked up, and one of the writers is AVB of Heaven Will Be Mine.
Nice. That's awesome.
That's amazing. Let's keep the train rolling.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Like, just unbelievable, like, all-star cast.
Or whatever.
Confluence of John things.
Yes, like, there was no doubt that this was a game that I was going to enjoy. But, like, in terms of gameplay, what this game is a speed running 3D precision platformer first-person shooter with card-based.
I was gonna say, isn't it like a deck builder in some way?
Not really. It's
okay.
That's the way that the information
cards.
is presented, but it's functionally exactly the same as when you like walk over like in any shooter, like here's a rotating 3D model of a gun, but instead it's just a card, and you have ammo and. What you do is you are given these very brief little levels, which are sort of speedrunning courses. They have timing incentives. If you just beat them, like complete them, you get a bronze rank, and then you can beat them faster and you get a silver rank, and that unlocks a little bit extra features, like you get a ghost that you can see where it's really helpful for like seeing, oh, this is the place where I'm stumbling, so I can like learn to do this section a little bit faster. And then after, or I think the first thing you unlock is gifts, which is part of the narrative function, because there's this whole story that is like given to you in cutscenes and between levels, and like giving different settings, and there's a lot of different side quests and things. This game it's great. It's also like presented as kind of it really feels like a Suda 51 game.
I can see that.
I sort of got that vibe,
I can see that.
It's so good. And like in that kind of like Clover Studios, like Bayonetta, where, you know, there's a lot of the, like you're doing these levels and getting a rank, but like not nearly as complicated, like much more streamlined and speed focused than like combo or like Muso combat. But like, man, it is just so satisfying because all the levels are pretty short. Like the longest I've spent on a level that isn't like a major story level, like just a regular
kind of challenge level or whatever, obstacle course,
is like a minute and 14 seconds.
Shoot.
And like the highest like speed one that I've ever done is like 14 seconds long. So what it is a lot of precision platforming, which is not a thing I like. But
I was going to say, not your normal cup of tea.
I've been on the record on this podcast many a time being like, I bounce off of precision platformers, but there's something about a hyper mobile first person shooter platformer that just feels like different to me. And like all of the main buttons are on like the triggers or the shoulder buttons. So you get...
So even jump and everything like that?
Jump is left trigger, and their attack is right button, but then you can discard the weapon with the right trigger, and every time that you discard a weapon, it gives you a different mobility option.
Oh man!
So and then you can use the L to switch between whatever cards you have equipped, and you can carry up to 2 separate ones to your main default weapon. So Neon White is a character that has a katana. And then you can pick up a pistol, which if you discard it, you get a double jump. Or you can have, I'm not going to get their names right. I know their colors because it's really good in terms of like trying to do like a lot of these really fast-paced speed running challenges, like, and you just have a giant purple thing in your field of vision at the bottom of the screen, so you know that that is something that if you discard it, you'll deploy a bomb in front of you, but you can use the bomb's explosion to propel yourself upwards.
Nice.
Or if you have the blue one, which is a like single shot long range attack. But if you discard it, then you just do a dash forward, and that breaks objects or enemies in front of you. And It's just using these like unequipping or discarding these weapons as soon as you get them to get through different challenges. It is just so satisfying. Like I cannot stress just how much like I will do a level, and if it's something that I was struggling with, I was like, all right, I'm not going to get a gold rank on that. And if you get a gold or an ace ranking, your overall ranking increases, and that's how you unlock new levels. But like, if there's a one where I'm like, all right, I got this like level pretty well on my first try. I'm like, all right, I'm just going to get the highest rank I possibly can. I'm just going to replay it. And it gives you the option, like once you beat a level, or even when it'll like have a little thing that flashes if you've used up all the weapons in the level or like before a major jump, and it's like you're stuck. You just reset the level and you just reset it, and you can do it over immediately. And like it is so fluid and rewarding in that like effort of just trying to like, all right, I keep dying, but you're getting a little bit better each time. Mm-hmm. And that loop is just so satisfying. Kevin, I think it would be a really fun thing for you to stream, just because I could totally see you getting into a thing where it's like, especially on some of the side quests, which are just like, depending on which side quest you're getting it from a character, some of them are just platforming challenges, other are just equipment challenges, others are just weapon challenges. It's so good. And the soundtrack is so Dreamcast era. Ooh. Like it
kind of has a little bit of that flavor even in general, even the aesthetic. Yeah, like Dreamcast anime kind of vibes going on.
Yeah. I'm just having a blast. Like cannot recommend this enough.
Oof. Well, you've definitely sold me on the game, which I already kind of was anyways, but now I'm kind of even more torn between like with the way you're describing the gameplay. I'm like, I kind of want it digitally, but then with the way I could see myself loving it potentially, I'm like, but then if I like for like Sayonara Wild Hearts, for example, which I think both these games are from Annapurna.
Yep.
Yeah. So like I'm thinking like I bought that game digitally, and as much as I love being able to fire it up whenever, I'm like that game is like it's a Randall, like game. I need the vinyl, I need the physical copy collector's edition, whatever. Yep. And it's kind of like it feels like if I end up having a similar reaction in any way to Neon White, it's like I should just bite the bullet and get the physical copy.
Shoot. Does it run well on Switch, John?
It runs great.
I was just thinking of that, yeah.
That's kind of the other thing, is that it really does feel like just a great Dreamcast game. And it kind of looks like a Dreamcast game too. Like all the like water effects is just a solid like holographic or like foil like thing. It's like, I love it. This is the exact level of graphics or detail this needs. Like just an early like single texture for every building. It rules. Like so it runs like a dream.
Oh man,
it runs like a Dreamcast. Sorry, but I love that it's such a different game too from Ben Esposito. Mm-hmm. Like to go from Donut County, which I guess has that narrative angle to it, but otherwise it kind of plays more like a point and click adventure.
Yeah,
kind of just random puzzle game, almost like even like WarioWare style at times, but like. It still has that narrative flair, but it's cool to see like such a gameplay focused speedrunning kind of thing from them next. So
yeah, and like I went through. So yeah, I said that there's the different rankings of like bronze, silver, gold, and ace for everything, and you only need to beat a level to move forward, but to unlock new missions, like you have to get some degree of gold rank or ace rank on the levels. So like you are always
okay.
I mean, unless you
bit of a bummer,
gold or ace rank them on your first go, which is entirely possible. Like the levels are built really well so that there are a few where I've done like gold rank right on the first try, but that's very rare. And then you only unlock gifts, which are things that you can give to the other neon characters, and that unlocks story, just dialogue or side quests, and those side quests are like the really like challenge levels. But like, so you are replaying them, but they are so short. Like it's the exact amount of precision platforming that I have the stomach for.
Right.
Like if they were any longer, I wouldn't want to do it. But also like having them be 10 in a row or like 3 in a row or however many they are per mission, like is a good batch, because it always feels like I'm not really feeling like I want to gold rank this level. I'll move on to the next one, and maybe that one will be a little bit more towards my skill set.
Okay.
Oh, God, it sounds incredible.
It's good.
I'm looking up the physical right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
How about that?
Definitely sounds like a fun one. Oh, I was going to say I had a question. I forgot it, but I just remembered it. Is there any like randomness to the cards at all in terms of like the run? So like it is like you are able to speed run wise. It isn't like you're like, oh, what card do I get? And you're kind of more like roguelikey style. No, working on the fly, you're able to go, okay, this is my optimal path. Because I was wondering if maybe that was why it kind of grabbed you more, if there was a little more free flowing.
No, there's I think
kind of stuff.
A thing that like kind of appeals to me is that there is like the last thing you unlock on a level is a hint, which kind of shows you the optimal path to get like an ace rank.
And okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
It's fun that that's also the last one that unlocks, because if you're like
explorer
like me and you're like, oh, I can figure this out. I can get this. But then if you're really running against it, then you like go over that hint and you see, that's the right path. That's the way you need to go. It's so good. It's such a good game.
Damn.
Nice. Well, man, yeah, I guess Randall and I will probably at some point end up talking about that game down the line, hopefully, because it sounds like it's up both our alleys.
Like you said, Annapurna can do no wrong. I was just listening to the Sayonara Wild Hearts soundtrack yesterday.
Every time I see that game scrolling on my Switch, I'm like, I need to play that again. And I've played it like 5 times at this point, if not more. So it's just, it never gets old.
Everything I've played from them, it's like just nonstop hits. Wilmot's Warehouse, I think they also did. Like
Gorogoa. I know you weren't as huge on that one, John, but I really loved that one. And not that you were against it or anything, but just I remember you were like, I didn't love it as much as you, but
Kentucky Route Zero.
Kentucky Route Zero. I still haven't played Outer Wilds.
Outer Wilds, yep.
Oh, I forgot that was them.
Or no, it was Watam.
Catalog
was them, not
Wilmot.
Yeah.
Well, either way, their back catalog, and I'm sure catalog to come is pretty sweet. So
it's so good.
I need to play more of their stuff for sure. Another thing that I probably look forward to on like next gen platforms, not that all their stuff, but like Outer Wilds. I'm like, I don't want to push that on my Xbox One. I'd rather have it do it on the S or the Series, whatever, X or S. But anyways, I guess I'll wrap things up here with a little bit of stuff that I've been playing. I'm kind of gonna lean into kind of save it for the cast style conversation stuff, like John and I did a couple weeks ago. But I have been playing a bunch more Shovel Knight Dig and Tumbleseed, which I talked about on one of our recent Save It for the Casts. Just been kind of picking up random stuff on my Switch and like what's been grabbing my attention. And I definitely have played quite a bit more Shovel Knight Dig. I've just been kind of picking up Tumbleseed for like a quick run or two here and there. But and then I've been playing also right before we recorded tonight, I was playing some Annalyn, which I just picked up on Switch. I think I talked about this one way back when on the podcast. It's kind of like a Pac-Man inspired but side-scrolling platformer gameplay, but it's very much like a Pac-Man, like you're running around, you're kind of this miner character, and you're just like running around collecting coins underground, and these snakes chase you around that, very much like the ghosts in Pac-Man, they're all like following you around, and there's certain platforms that like, you can run on and, you know, jump on and whatever. And then, you collect like the red, like big gem. And then the snakes turn blue and you can punt them off the screen and whatever. But it's cool. They have like the snakes have like these ledges that are like kind of like darker purple in the shadows. They're different on different stages, but like they'll they can run on those, but you can't. But then they can like jump down from the layer above you. It's kind of like a mix of like Pac-Man meets Super Mario Brothers, but with some like side-scrolling action. And I decided to pick it up on Switch because I was like, it's only $5. It just got ported, and it actually got ported by Summit Sphere, which is the team that made Anton Ball. I think Anton Ball Deluxe, and then they're making the new game Anton Blast. And so this new version of Annalyn on Switch has Anton as like a playable character. So I was like, I wouldn't mind just picking this game up. I had some points sitting on my Switch, and I was like, I'd rather, or I wouldn't mind throwing $5 to these two. You know, it's a solo developer on Annalyn, and then the Summit team that, or Summit Sphere team that ported it over. And it's a great port. The one thing I will say is it's like a little bit bare bones, and that's kind of like where my conversation is just going to kind of lean into, is because I just haven't been able to find the game that like scratches that itch. Because with Shovel Knight Dig, I've been playing quite a bit of that. I actually ended up beating a run. I got like a bunch of crazy like buffs and power ups where it was like, upgrade your maximum health by like 8 hearts or something, or double it or triple it. I forgot what it was. And then after that, it was like, turn your maximum health into shields and significantly increase it. And like, I thought that was going to mean that like, okay, my maximum health will like be shields, and then, but I won't be able to like eat food and recover health or whatever anymore. But that wasn't the case. Food was still like recovering my shields. I don't really know what the detriment was. I just all of a sudden had like 3 massive health bars, and I was able to beat the game on that run. But I still haven't been like fully satisfied with it. Like it's interesting because I'm enjoying the gameplay more than I enjoyed Shovel Knight Pocket Dungeon, the puzzle game that I taught, the puzzle game roguelike. And this one's more like, the gameplay is more similar, and Randall talked about this one a little bit with the Apple Arcade when you first like tried that out, and we just kind of briefly touched on it. But for me, like the gameplay, it feels more on par with Shovel Knight, although it's kind of like Shovel Knight meets Downwell in a lot of ways. It's developed by Nitrome alongside Yacht Club, although I think Nitrome did like the majority of the development here. And it shows with the pixel art. Like the pixel art's incredible. The music is also amazing. I really, really am digging the music a lot. That's actually probably the highlight of the game for me. But like the grindiness of like the unlockable stuff, like it's like kind of like, okay, you go up to the main like campsite or whatever, and it's like, okay, the first thing you're buying and is like, it's just like a buff that you can get in any given run. Okay, that costs like 1,000 gems or whatever, and you're getting those, you know, as you do runs and die, and you keep your, you know, certain portion of your gems and then spend those on things. But then it's like, okay, then the next thing you unlock costs 2,000, then the next thing 3,000, then 4,000, then and it just keeps going up and up and up. And kind of like even like Point P, I just feel like I'm just like grinding for the sake of grinding. Like there's no, like it kind of goes, even though I was able to beat it without like unlocking every single thing, it almost feels like the grind has like become the campaign in a lot of these roguelites. And like for me, like especially if you end up being like good enough or just getting a lucky run where you like are able to like, you know, quote unquote beat the game or beat a run, it kind of like I lose my interest where like a game like Downwell, I can just like keep coming back and back again, because it's like technically the only thing that happened is I got better at that game. I didn't like unlock anything to make me stronger or make runs easier or make it easier to progress or anything like that. If anything, I only unlocked things to make it harder to play for like, and that is cool with Shovel Knight Dig here. They do offer that. You can like, after you beat the game or beat a run, you can talk to Black Knight at the campsite and then do these like kind of Dead Cell style, like, okay, now there's less food that will appear in the runs as you know, go through and whatnot. So it's, you know, just add another layer of challenge. Even like kind of like Shotgun King has these different rankings. Like I haven't played that in a little bit, but I've kind of been bouncing just between all these different like roguelikes, but just not quite finding the right one. Because even with Annalyn, which is more just straightforward arcade action, I'm playing like, you know, you get unlimited. It's like so straightforward of like, I'm missing, it doesn't have any real campaigness because I can just like unlimited continue. And the only real punishment is it just halves my score every time I continue after getting a game over to like complete the campaign. I think there's like 16 stages, which I have not done yet. I've done like, because I'm always torn between like, do I want to do a single credit run and see how many points I can get? Or do I want to just try to beat the campaign? And I now that I looked at like the stats that you can see on the like extras or whatever in the menu, I was looking at that, and it does show like how many like games completed, and then it has a separate stat for like games completed without continues. So I'm like, okay, if it's like keeping track and it's kind of like its own individual campaign in and of itself, I'm interested in seeing it through because I do love the level design. It's pretty fun. It's like it's very much a retro 80s, Donkey Kong style platformer, but very much with modern controls and feel and whatnot. And another thing too I want to say is I've been playing a lot handheld on Switch, and I've been playing with my Joy-Cons because I think I mentioned probably off the podcast, but I went over to my buddy's place the other day and I didn't have my Joy-Cons charged, so I had to bring my Switch over with like the big Hori pads, and I didn't have a case to put it in, and it was just like, I need to charge this up because I'm planning on going over to play some Mario Kart this weekend with the guys. So
yeah,
and I was like, you know what, I've got the Joy-Cons hooked up and charged up. Let me just play, and I'm back to like depending on the game, but I lean towards that form factor. I like that smaller Switch in my hands. I don't know what it is, but
it's a totally dependent on the game. I think
it really is because
it just works better.
Yeah, even with Aniline, like because you're you can really cut it close with like I pretty much touch this snake. Like they're very generous with the hitboxes, so I'm like with that small Joy-Con joystick, I can like whip it back and forth so fast that it actually, to me, it feels like it gives me an advantage of like being able to turn on a dime where like the Pro controller, I got to like really kind of whip that controller to the joystick to the other side. I know it's a very subtle difference, but
there's
when I'm
half
playing the game,
centimeter of difference.
Yeah, it feels like, to push it all the way hard left to hard right feels just so much quicker to, I don't have to move my whole thumb. I'm just it's more of a twitch reaction. And I don't know.
Throw of the stick. Yes.
Now I got to see if like the Smash community has outlawed like one
any particular controller, the
Joy-Cons.
Yeah, GameCube controller only.
But yeah, I've just been like, I as much as I like all these games, like I would truly recommend each and every one of them, especially at the price there. Like Aniline's only $5. I guess Shovel Knight Dig's a little bit pricier. I picked it up on sale for $15. Which is why I finally jumped on. I was like, okay, 25. I don't know if I can pull the trigger, but I'm glad I own it. But like now that I've beaten a run and there's more to do, but I'm just kind of like, I'm done with this game. And not that that's a bad thing. I'm happy to move on. There's a million games I want to play. It's nothing bad that it doesn't have its teeth sunk into me, but I'm just kind of like, I don't know, both Pocket Dungeon and Dig both kind of left me, like they scratched an itch for a brief moment, but they just kind of left me with a little bit more to be desired. Even though they're great entries into the Shovel Knight series, I'm glad they exist.
Yeah.
But I'm just kind of like, I almost would have just taken another Shovel Knight game or just give us that Mina the Hollower or whatever the name of that game is that's coming out.
Oh, yeah.
And again, nothing against these games. They're awesome and they're a ton of fun. I do recommend them, but
Kevin, it's time to go outside your comfort zone and play a different genre altogether that you've never tried. Just do it. No, I don't have any suggestion. Just just go.
Yeah.
Go for like this. It's like when you're watching like movies of like a certain genre that like just aren't hitting as much, or a genre of music that's just not hitting as much.
Yeah.
Like time to just switch it up, see what else there is, and if maybe this is your renaissance. Maybe this is when you're getting into a thing that you wrote off previously.
That's a good point. And I am like starting to look at like new living situations again and figuring out that situation, because I know I've mentioned on the podcast before, like, it's been tough and like with all my stuff kind of crammed in one room and just kind of like it's tough to really get in the zone. So I'm looking for stuff like pick up and play on my Switch, but man, I can't wait to like have a TV in a living room and just kind of like a proper setup again. So yeah, that might be the excuse to start diving into some new stuff. So
yeah. I think that's a good call. Yeah, it's unfortunate that there's just that exponential upgrade path.
Yeah,
Shovel Knight Dig. I didn't even make it that far with that. I'm like, oh, okay, this is fine, but this to me doesn't, and it's not fair, but it doesn't hold a candle to something like SteamWorld Dig 2 did for me in a similar vein that way. And I'm kind of curious. This might still be a little bit unfair of a comparison, but like Aniline versus something that we've talked about recently. Donut Dodo, like for like the 80s Renaissance games, how would you compare those things? Like which one did you have a better experience with so far?
I would say pretty much right on the money, on par with that, like polish level. I would say Donut Dodo is a little bit better on like the music front. Like Aniline is a little more true to the retro, even though the gameplay feels a little more modern and smooth like Donut Dodo does, but just something about Donut Dodo, but I would say the level design is a little bit more fun and engaging in Annalyn. It'd be a coin toss on any given day, but I will say like the music and like certain elements of Donut Dodo probably will stick with me a little bit more.
Yeah, they nailed that theming.
Yeah,
they really did.
They really did. But it's all the little like kind of Pac-Man style cutscenes with like the snakes chasing you around and Annalyn like blowing stuff up down the mine. And they added in a new little cutscene with Anton from Anton Blast and Anton Ball. Like when you do change and play as that character. And there are like some unlockable palettes and stuff. But like I guess that's the other complaint too is like and not complaint, but I just feel like it is such a bare bones port of this game. Like all you can do with like the kind of borders, like it's a game that would play on if you could put it in Tate mode or whatever if you're in handheld and put it vertical. But even if you put it in that vertical mode on like the bottom like quarter of the screen, there's kind of like an arcade bezel with like instructions on it, and you like can't take that away. And then when you play in like just the regular kind of widescreen mode, it has like the kind of a big border around it and even around like the top and bottom. So the screen is like really, really small, especially when you're playing on handheld. And then all you can do with that background, like you can't unlock new ones to the best of my knowledge. Like it's just, you can straight up change the opacity of the background and to the point where you can turn it off and make it just black. But it's like, that's all you can do. You can get different palettes for the two different characters by doing different challenges. But I feel like I've done some of them and I haven't unlocked anything, so maybe I'm just misinterpreting what it means by a round or a stage, but nonetheless it's a really cool game. I'm definitely like for $5 I can't not recommend it, but I will say it definitely is a little more of like a bare bones, like you got to be, there's no online leaderboards or anything like that, so it's just kind of like you got to be into like chasing your own high scores and whatnot, but definitely still a fun game. But I probably have been the most out of everything I've been played Shovel Knight Dig the most, but also kind of felt like, man, the main thing that really impressed me was just like the visuals and the music. The gameplay, it was cool, but I was really hoping to like it more when they pitched it as like, we wanted to make Shovel Knight meets Downwell, which is literally two of the best indie games that have come, or my favorite indie games that have come out in recent years. So it's like, okay, well, that sounds like a pretty dang good combo. So, obviously went in with pretty high expectations, and not to say that I didn't enjoy it, but it was like, okay, it didn't quite live up to that pedigree, but still a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And cool to see Shovel Knight.
John's statement. New experience, add a new spice. Kevin, look for that new spice. Try it out again.
Hey, let me know. Let me know if you guys got any recommendations. So even Neon White, even though it sounds up my alley, it sounds a little bit kind of maybe something to kickstart the trend.
Yeah.
But yeah, who knows? I got to pick it up first, I guess. But and we got Mario Wonder coming out right around the corner, and I know that Mario
really
games are like the one game that truly like suck me in, and I'm just like, this is all I'm playing until I beat it.
Oh
so
yeah,
I'm looking forward.
It's
to
probably
that.
Gonna happen.
Yeah. But I don't know, any more video game stuff tonight, guys?
Nah, I'm good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, I guess I'm bumping Neon White up in my cart along with Mario Wonder. I might just grab those both at once, but. Anyways, I guess we can wrap it up there for this week. And you can find us on the internet at pursuingpixels.com or just look us up, Pursuing Pixels, pretty much anywhere. And otherwise, we will catch you next week. And until then, take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye. So you're still playing Neon White, right, John? That's you're not.
I booted that up today.
Yeah.
I booted it up today and played through, like, it's so like I also don't know if Kevin, you would hate the story of it.
Okay.
That's the only thing that's like, maybe Kevin would like this, or maybe Kevin would just absolutely despise it. Cause like it doesn't really take itself seriously, but like, it's not like,
how would you compare it to the story of Donut County, or what were you going to say?
I was going to say on a scale of 0 to Xenoblade Chronicles 2, how bullshitty is it?
It's a 1. Have either of you guys seen OKKO?
I know what it is, but I can't say I've seen it.
Same.
Yeah.
Because
and it piques my interest. Like, it looks like something I might enjoy, but I haven't seen it.
It's like really stupid and like but like stupid because that's funny and it knows it's stupid.
Sure.
But like not like it's great. Like It's so fun.
I watch pro wrestling from time to time.
Yeah.
And other things. I understand.
Oh my god. Oh man, there's a great. I don't want to
I didn't even know it was wrestling themed.
No, I'm just saying stupid. But it's.
Okay. I got you.
Yeah.
I was thinking OKKO. I was like, oh, maybe it's like wrestling or boxing themed.